For centuries, the circus has provided the public with exciting and thrilling entertainment involving dancers, clowns, acrobats, unicyclists, and more. The circus is a form of entertainment that has evolved since its inception, from the ancient Roman times to 18th century England and America to the modern circus, also known as Cirque Nouveau. Today on Feed My Curiosity, we will explore the history of the circus. What are the origins of the circus? Who performed the first modern circus show? And how did it come over to North America and grow? Let's find out. The origins of the circus may be traced all the way back to ancient Rome. Ancient Roman circuses usually consisted of highly competitive events such as chariot races, which were 7-lap races involving chariots pulled by horses. Chariot racers would usually be slaves who would be fighting for their liberty. There were also foot races that lasted several hours, as well as equestrian exhibitions known as Lotus Troyae, which featured young Roman aristocrats reenacting famous battles. Circus acts were performed in arenas, such as the Circus Maximus, located between Aventino and Palatine Hills. It measured around 600 meters in length and 225 in width, and seated around 300,000 spectators. These features would make the Circus Maximus the largest in Rome, ahead of the Circus Flaminius and Circus of Maxentius. After the fall of Rome and the end of the ancient Roman circuses, the modern circus that we're familiar with today began in 18th century Britain with Philip Asley, who is considered to be the founding father. Since he was a child, he was very fond of horses, and at the age of 17, he joined a cavalry regiment under Colonel George Augustus Elliot called the 15th Light Dragoons, where he was able to reach rank of sergeant. But he wasn't going to waste or retire his world-class riding skills after being discharged from the army in 1766. 2 years later, with the rise of popularity with horse trick riding, he opened his own riding school, where he held riding lessons in the morning and put on shows in the afternoon. Aside from a horse he was given from Colonel Elliot he rode for his shows, he also had a small horse named the Little Military Horse, who was able to perform tricks. By 1769, he and his students continued to perform tricks for their horses at Asley's riding house and expanded on the performances by adding acrobats and clowns. Eventually, Philip would travel abroad and build wooden amphitheaters for his performances, building his first one in Dublin, Ireland in 1773, and another one in Paris, France, called Asley's Amphitheater Riding House. He eventually added a roof to allow him to perform in the evenings and during winter. Although he stopped performing, he continued to be a ringmaster. By 1782, Philip opened up France's very first circus called the Ménage Anglais, or the Amphitheater Anglais. The following year, his circus performed in front of the court of the Queen Marie Antoinette at Versailles, and was so successful he received permission to open a permanent amphitheater in Paris called the Amphitheater Anglais de Cirque Asley, Père et Fille. In 1792, the circus was brought to America by John Bill Ricketts, one of Philip Asley's students. The first performance took place in front of 800 spectators inside of a wooden open-air amphitheater in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. John performed as a trick rider and was accompanied by a clown, an acrobat, a rope walker, and an equestrian. They continued to put on dazzling shows for excited spectators, including then-President George Washington. American circuses started to take place in the iconic canvas pavilions when in 1825, Joshua Purdy Brown set one up as a venue outside of Wilmington, Delaware, to get around the Second Great Awakening, which saw a ban of public amusements from the city and lasted from 1790 to 1840. These tents were then greatly favored by other circuses because they were cheap and easy to set up. Finally, the Transcontinental Railroad, which opened up in May of 1869, made circus logistics across the country even cheaper and easy, and is what made circuses a staple feature of American entertainment and culture. Dan Costello and P.T. Barnum were a couple of show persons who took advantage of the train, transporting a variety of animals, plenty of which were often gigantic, all across America. While the circus industry in America was competitively fierce, it was James A. Bailey and the Ringling Brothers who had the most successful circuses from the late 1890s and the early 1900s. They all shared similar rags-to-riches life backgrounds, which were incorporated into their shows and embraced by spectators. The Ringling Brothers bought Bailey's circus after he passed away in 1906, in the crash of the financial markets a year after, and continued to run both circuses separately until 1919. For that year, they decided to combine both circuses into one show due to the great war-limiting amount of trains they could use. and they assumed the war would last a very long time. However, it was so successful, they kept going with the combined format. The Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey's Greatest Show on Earth would run for 146 years. Today, interest in the circus has waned, especially since children, which have been the target audience for circuses, were more interested in other forms of entertainment such as video games and movie and television streaming services. But most importantly, there were concerns with animal rights and how animals were being treated in circuses. There are also many regulations around the world in regards to how circuses can feature animals in their shows. Due to this, The Greatest Show on Earth has made the decision to permanently close in 2017. Is it possible to have a circus without featuring animals? Indeed it is! This is where Cirque du Soleil comes in. The Canadian entertainment company is known for defining the modern, contemporary circus where their shows feature pretty much everything with the absence of animal acts. And performances are known to be story-driven with character development. The Greatest Show on Earth had recently announced that they will be back in production in 2023 by following a similar model and performing without the use of animals this time. Have you been to a circus before? If so, when was the last time you went? And what was the most memorable act you've seen at a circus? Let us know your thoughts by commenting below. That's all for today. Take care.